Wow, we are just doing new things like every day, aren't we? This is my first time trying out this very blinding light. And today is the day, friends. Today is the day that I feel like I'm gonna regret everything. But today I'm going to be reading my fanfiction, my old fanfiction. Once again, we're following the timeline of my writer life, and I was about 13 when I wrote this one. Also, I just realized I haven't even given a proper intro or anything like that, but hi, welcome to Writing Wednesday, where I embarrass myself every week. So where did I keep this? I have a folder suspiciously titled fanfics, and only one folder is inside titled old, and there they are. Wow. So maybe we should give some backstory on this, okay? So just so we know what we're getting into here. Like I said before, I was about 13 when I wrote this. Let's just get this out of the way. It's a fucking vampire fanfic, okay? That's what it is. At the time, my best friend was getting into Twilight, and just so you know, I hadn't read it when I wrote this. Actually, my motivation for the vampire thing had been partially because she was just so into vampires because of Twilight, and partially because of a manga/anime titled Karen for the anime, or Chibi Vampire for the manga. And I was obsessed with that. I was obsessed with Chibi Vampire. So I was like, you know what? I'll combine your vampire knowledge and my vampire knowledge, and I'm gonna make this fanfiction. It is a Kingdom Hearts fanfiction, of course. If you don't know already, I love Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if you can know, you can't see my figures up there, can you? You could kind of see Roxas chilling up there. That would be all well and fine if it weren't for the fact that this is a self-insert fanfiction. I used to write a lot of these from the age of around 9 when I got really into my first fandom, which was Yu-Gi-Oh! And I would just write all these fanfics with me and my friends in the world of whichever fandom I decided to write in. So for those of you who aren't into Kingdom Hearts, and for my own sanity, I'm just going to change all of the names and we're gonna go with it, because I'm trying not to go as crazy with this one because I know it's bad. I just know it's bad. But I also had a blast writing this. I started it sometime in July of 2007 and finished it on New Year's Eve 2007. So I'm gonna try my best to read the first chapter without dying. Chapter 1, And Their Eyes Met. There's a little author's note here. I'm just gonna try to read it in my best 13-year-old Nikki voice. Okay, so since I've just finished the anime Karen and I'm gonna read Twilight and New Moon soon, I'm all vampire happy, so I came up with this. And then it gives the summary. Steve and Ryan are vampires, and dangerous ones at that. Of course they are. When Steve sees Natalie, his heart begins to pound furiously and he begins to fall in love with her. Insta-love right off the bat. But a vampire cannot love a human, so he makes a deal with, oh shoot, I didn't think this through, Nora, to make sure he can turn human. However, there are conditions. And then I added another author's note and says, yeah, no flames. No flames, really. Do people still write that on fanfiction? Do you write no flames, please? Or I don't know. Okay, chapter 1. Oh, also I never gave the name of the fanfic. It's called The Beat of My Heart. It's named after a Hilary Duff song. I already want to die. His heart was beating furiously. His breathing was heavy. Beads of sweat slowly traveled down his forehead. His hands were balled into tight fists. He tried to make his breathing lighter, but it was no use. She was still around him. Her medium-length brown hair was tied up in 2 loose ponytails and rested over her shoulders lightly. Her dark brown eyes were shining with excitement as she stood chatting with her friends in front of Claire's accessories. Her left hand was placed casually on her hips. Just chillin'. Her right thumb was jammed in her pocket, and she had her weight shifted on her right leg. Oh, that is the quintessential 2000s pose. It was everything about her. The jeans and light pink short sleeve shirt she was wearing, her hair shining in the light, her bright smile that made his heart beat faster and his senses go wild. Steve. The familiar voice calling his name made him stop and look away from her. He turned to see his brother, Ryan, staring at the group of girls Steve had been watching earlier. Ryan's expression was a blank one, his crystal blue eyes not moving away from the group. What are you doing? Ryan asked Steve, his eyes still locked on the other figures a few feet away from them. Her. She's... Steve tried to bring the words to life, but they remained caught in his throat. Natalie. Is that what I said? Natalie? Natalie. What? That's her name. What's so special about her, Steve? Ryan asked. I feel like that's like a very awkward, that's a very awkward thing to say, you know? I don't know, like I feel like that's weird dialogue. Steve ignored the question. Steve ignored the question. How do you know her name? He questioned, looking at the blonde standing next to him. She's in our school, Ryan answered impatiently. What's so special about her? The brunette blinked a couple of times, trying to get his heart to stop racing. He wanted to answer his brother, but though he tried, the words wouldn't form. The words would barely even form in his mind. Ryan waited for the reply, but it didn't come to him. I see then. He turned and walked away slowly, losing himself in the mall crowd around him. So I'm just gonna take a pause real quick because there's actually a little divider here, which I'm, in my perfect emo scene phase, made out of little X's. Yeah, I just wanted to say that if I read this now, like if this had been original fiction, Ryan probably would have been my favorite character. Or no, maybe not now, but definitely then Ryan would have been my favorite character. And it's funny because I wrote him completely out of character for like, you know, who, like, in the actual fanfiction, he's completely out of character, but I feel like I don't know, I projected that onto him, or I don't know, the games weren't all out yet. He's definitely not like this, but I guess I could see where I got that impression from. Anyway, Ryan's an asshole. I don't know, I guess I just like the whole, like, softy on the inside thing. I don't even remember if that's, like, what happens at the end of this fic, but we'll see. I don't think I'm strong enough to do this next part, because I see the dialogue that is unfolding in front of me, and I want to die a little bit. No way, he's not that great, Natalie said, shaking her head. What are you talking about? He's cute, Bailey laughed. No, I think JT's the cutest. Spinners, not that great, like I said. They're talking about Degrassi, if you don't know. We're talking about Degrassi. They're talking about Degrassi, the next generation. The best generation. I'm kidding. I don't know. I haven't watched since Paige and everybody graduated. Well, enough about them. What about guys in our school? Sally asked, hands on her hips. This is such an awkward conversation, but I was 13 when I wrote this, so I guess all of my conversations were like this. Bailey immediately went... Wait a minute. Immediately is spelled wrong here. Bailey immediately went into a fit of giggles. Natalie laughed and flipped a ponytail over her shoulder. I see Bailey's already got someone on her mind. The other girl sighed and calmed down, casually twiddling her fingers. How do you, like... Do you do that casually? I don't know. I watch too much anime, I guess. Well, there's this guy, and his name, Sally pushed along, Ryan.
Ryan!
Why is this so funny to me already? That blonde boy? Natalie asked. The quiet one? Yeah, that's him. He's cute, I guess. Oh my gosh, it's written O-M-I, gosh. Natalie jumped at Bailey's sudden outburst. What is it? She asked, immediately thinking that something was wrong. I just saw him! Bailey's eyes were clouded with dreaminess now as she looked into the mall crowd. Look! She turned Natalie to look in the direction she was looking. Natalie didn't see him, but she did see someone else. Ah, the moment. He had brown hair spiked up, basically defying all gravity. If you've read any Kingdom Hearts fanfiction, you know that it's all... Everybody's hair in that series basically is described that way because nobody's hair cooperates with gravity in that series. He wore a simple pair of jeans and a black shirt. He wasn't smiling, only stared into space, or that's what it seemed like he was doing. He seemed to be lost in his thoughts, his eyes clouded over. His eyes. When her dark brown eyes met with his sapphire blue eyes, she felt a rush, a chill going down her spine that made her gasp slightly. He seemed to have a reaction as well, since he blinked twice and quickly looked away shyly, then whirled around and walked out of her sight. XXXXXXX. What I'm getting so far is that the writing isn't inherently that bad. The choice of dialogue is a little bit weird as shit, and the references to current pop culture make me want to cringe a little bit because I don't know, I don't like that in books personally because it heavily dates the novel. Reading this is an experience because, you know, like I'm reading it as it's written. I just have to remember to change the names as they come out of my mouth, and I'm dying a little inside, but so far I think it's not that bad, if not just a little bit cheesy. Steve sighed as he sat in his living room later that day. The couch beneath him was becoming uncomfortable, and all he could think of was that girl he'd seen at the mall earlier. What was her name? Natalie? Yes, that was her name. Ryan sat next to him, calmly reading his book, ooh, an intellectual, and trying not to pay attention to Steve, almost slipped there, who was, of course, fidgeting. Oh shit, another name. Richard. Richard was sitting in the chair next to the couch, smirking at Steve. So you can't stop thinking about her now? Richard questioned, referring to Natalie. Like, do people talk like this? I don't think so. Richard was Steve's best friend. It just sounds so funny. Richard was Steve's best friend, and the only human that knew he and Ryan were vampires. He had been with Steve since they were young kids, and poked fun at Steve for being so shy. He had also been with the brunette the first time he bit someone, and had been quiet about it, knowing that it would happen anyway. Wait, so you're a little ass kid and you see your best friend just like bite someone? You don't even know they're a vampire, you just see them straight up take a chomp out of somebody's neck, and you're like, it's chill, it's fine. I mean, I didn't even mention, like, he knew before he bit somebody that he was a vampire. So the impression I'm getting is that he just saw him bite somebody and was like, cool. And I know that's concerning, that's especially concerning because of a fact that I don't know if it's gonna mention in chapter 1, and if it doesn't, I'll just like tell y'all. He had stuck with Steve through the good times and the bad, and he also understood just what kind of vampires Steve and Ryan were, dangerous as they may be. Ooh, an ellipses follows that. Nice. No, I can't get her out of my mind, the brunette answered, obviously frustrated as he clenched his fist tightly. Ryan sighed as his eyes read over the small printed words on the page in his hands. He and Steve were a different kind of vampires. Different than others, indeed. The two of them had a blood preference. Ah, this is where the chibi vampire thing comes in, if you've read it or watched the anime, because I totally took this from that series. The two of them had a blood preference when it came to biting people. They both went for people who were unhappy, so they respond to emotions. If they were around someone who was unhappy, their hearts would beat faster and faster until they bit the person. The detail that set them apart from other people of their kind was that if they bit someone, the victim would die. Oh, so I guess I did mention it in chapter 1. This led Steve to a fear of being himself. Ryan, however, first sunk his teeth into someone's flesh when he was 10. The first time he felt that horrible, strong urge to bite them. His brother, though, had only been biting people for 2 years now, having started at the age of 13. I don't know, that sentence sounds so funny out of context. Yeah, but his brother just started biting people like 2 years ago, so, you know. I have always hated this next line with a burning hot passion. Even like right after I published it, I was like, wow, what an idiot. Why did I write that? So, what was she doing? Sulking in a corner? Crying like a baby? Oh, what did I name this dude? Richard questioned his best friend, remembering his blood preference. She was... Steve began, trying to remember what she had been doing. She was talking to 2 other girls. She didn't look upset. She was really happy by the looks of it, but my heart started pounding really hard. It almost sounded like the way Alan was pounding on the door of the classroom that time the kids locked him inside in elementary school. That's another line I really cannot stand. It just like comes out of nowhere, and it's just, I don't know, it's not placed right. Ryan looked up from his book at this point. Your heart was beating like that while she's happy? Yes. Ryan shook his head. He didn't understand. It was impossible. How could he? Like, how impossible is that? You're all teenagers. You're all like, I think I wrote them to be around like 15. I intended them to be around 15. So, I mean, you see a cute girl, the heart beating happens. I think Ryan just like doesn't talk to people though. So he's just not, I don't know, he's focused all of his energy on like vampire mode, and he doesn't understand any other emotions other than bite people. Well, there's only one thing for you to do now, Steve. Steve looked up at the silver-haired teen watching him. What's that? Talk to her. That is the end of chapter 1. I feel like I say this in every video, but I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest with you. I think what makes it so embarrassing for me is knowing that it's a self-insert and seeing that, like seeing my name and my friend's name in this fanfiction is kind of embarrassing. But you know, I read this post a while ago, like a month ago maybe, on Tumblr, that was just like, if you want to write a self-insert fanfiction, like, you're not doing anybody any harm. You can do that. Sometimes it can be a really good coping mechanism, and believe me, like writing this fanfiction was a fantastic coping mechanism for a lot of things that were going on in my life at the time. I'm trying not to be too ashamed of it. I know I had that whole like pep talk in that last video. I don't know if it was for you guys or for myself on not being ashamed of your self-indulgent tendencies. And like, to be honest, I still get the urge to write self-insert fanfiction, and in certain fandoms I technically do, so I'm trying not to be horribly embarrassed by it. Like, it's fine. It's a little like cringy to look back on, but I remember how incredibly happy writing this made me, so. Oh, but chapter 2 is like a goldmine of awful. I wonder how much space I have left on this SD card. Let's go for a little bit of chapter 2. Why not? Screw it. So I'm just gonna read to you some like snippets of beautiful, beautiful dialogue. Natalie's eyes scanned the area for Sally, Bailey, and Karen, who she was supposed to meet up with. When she didn't see them, she took her sparkly pink cell phone out of her pocket, dialing Bailey's number rapidly. The sound of the low ringing was in her ears now, and she finally heard Bailey's voice on the other side. "Hello?" she brightly answered. "Hey, Bales," Natalie said with a smile. "Where are you and Sally Wally?" Oh, here's the awful part where they meet fatefully. Again, like, and actually speak to each other. Spotting the water fountain, that's where her friends are waiting. Spotting the water fountain, she began to walk towards it. The grass tickling her toes through her sandals. Her eyes scanned the benches for her friends when suddenly, wham! Someone had knocked into her, the force sending them tumbling into the grass. I think anime gave me like way too high of an expectation, and I just wrote it straight into this fanfiction. Ow! Natalie mumbled softly, feeling the grass beneath her and someone on top of her. See what I mean? Opening her eyes, she saw crystal blue eyes. Why can't I read? Opening her eyes, she saw crystal blue eyes staring down at her. It was the boy she had seen at the mall, and his face was quickly turning red. "Oh, sorry," he quickly apologized. "I should have watched where I was running. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay," she answered softly. She would have raised her voice, but she was too busy staring into his eyes. They were amazing, and he sure was cute. "Well, I'm Steve," he informed her, his voice gentler and less worry-filled. "I'm Natalie." "Nice to meet you, Natalie, even if it was like this." He laughed. Talk about a first impression. She giggled. "Yeah, but one I won't forget." "It's nice to meet you too." Then she paused. Steve? Can you maybe get off of me, please?" I hate this! Blushing and realizing where he was, Steve stood up and held out his hand to help her up. "Sorry." "No, it's okay." Natalie looked him over now that he was standing in full view rather than just his face. Once again, he was wearing jeans, this time a blue shirt to go with it. That's like, I had no sense of fashion that I wanted to see in guys, I guess. "Hey, I think I've seen you around before. I think you may go to my school." Steve nodded, seemingly happy that she would recognize him. "Yeah, my brother and I go there." Natalie murmured, studying him closely. You have a brother, don't you, Ryan?" Like, he just said it. But that, like, to give myself credit, I also realized that mistake right after I published it. Alright, my SD card ran out of space, and I feel like that's a sign that's a really good place to stop things now. So yeah, there you have it. That is chapter 1 of a fanfiction, a Kingdom Hearts fanfiction, a self-insert Kingdom Hearts fanfiction I wrote based off of an anime and a Hilary Duff song. You know, I used to get inspiration from the weirdest places. Like, some fanfiction that I wrote, mostly Yu-Gi-Oh, but like 1 or 2 Kingdom Hearts ones, were inspired by things such as Super Mario Sunshine, Mario Kart, and the Lizzie McGuire movie. So I don't know what that says about, I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it says something. Thank you all so much for watching today. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And next week, I guess there's more fanfiction. But we may move on to this story that I wrote right after finishing The Beat of My Heart, which isn't exactly a fanfiction. It's just a mess. I'll just say it is another vampire story, and by this point I had definitely read at least 1 Twilight book. I'm pretty sure I did. If not, I don't know where I got all this crap from. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!